Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. Hope you guys have had a great week out there as we round it off, heading to another weekend. And I hope you guys are having an awesome start to your weekend. We got you an update tonight. We're going to talk about what we know about Thanksgiving and really the couple days after. I'm expecting a storm threat. Now, what that means, significant snowstorm, significant system in general, we don't know. We don't even know if there is going to really just be a big system in general. Just could just be an area of low pressure, just some energy flying around. But there's also the potential for an impactful storm system that could affect travel, especially for folks traveling home for Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving will be okay for most, but I think right after Thanksgiving there could be a storm around, maybe some cold air. And we'll talk about what we know with that. In the very beginning of the video, we're going to give you an update on the snow that continues to fall, the big time snowmageddon type situation ongoing in Buffalo Point South. Orchard Park just came in. I just checked my Twitter. An official storm chaser spotter reported 66 inches of snow, guys. So that surpasses what I thought was going to happen. That's 5.5 feet of snow. And it's still going to be snowing in that area. So I think areas could surpass 75, 80 inches maybe. That's just ridiculous. And I think that would pass any measurement in the 2014 event that happened several years ago. So we'll see what happens, but this has been an incredible event. It really has. But we'll give you an update on that here right at the beginning. But if you guys have not subscribed, consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I really appreciate the support. And if you guys got anything I can pray about or pray over out there, please put it in the comments below. We're going to continue to get you guys updates on a Thanksgiving forecast and the couple days afterwards. I know this is the biggest travel day, I believe, of the year, so we certainly want to keep you guys updated here. Let's take a look at the radar. What's going on in the Buffalo area and just south? And of course, you got a big time snow band setting up here north of Watertown and in and around the Watertown area. But look, I mean, you still got this snow band here. Really, Hamburg, Orchard Park. Honestly, I would think Hamburg would have the higher totals. If there's any area that has just been consistently slammed over the last day and a half, it's Hamburg. It is. And, actually, you guys have had a break a little bit over the last hour or so, but it looks like the band's about to pivot back in. And I can tell you, tomorrow, really into late tonight into tomorrow, this band is going to start to move more so into Buffalo. And I think the immediate Buffalo area in the northern suburbs, I think could get their most snow actually tomorrow, potentially. So we'll see how this happens. But the snow rages on. It looks like an apocalyptic situation south of Buffalo. Cars are buried. It just looks unreal. There's a lot of storm chasers in the area, and they are getting some phenomenal footage. Reed Timmer, a lot of people know that who follow weather. But let's check out what could happen over the next 18 hours for the HRRR model. We're starting us off right now. I feel like it's verifying pretty well. We'll continue this. This is going to stay around the same area through about midnight. And then watch out the band as we start to get about, this is getting to about 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. The band begins to pivot right over Buffalo. It could be some intense snow. And then just kind of dances around Buffalo throughout the early morning hours. And then we'll see what it does by noon tomorrow. But between now and the next 18 hours, you could expect, like I said, Buffalo could get 8 to 12 inches of snow in additional. But it looks like it begins to let up down here. If you look at the latest National Weather Service on what they think over the next 18 hours, they still think a lot more. And this is certainly possible. Areas south of Buffalo, another foot and a half of snow. And that could happen. I saw a report where one area got 6 inches of snow in 1 hour. That is just unreal. I mean, we don't even get that here in the Carolinas, sometimes in a 5-year span, depending on where you live. So really just wild snowfall totals. Let's talk about Texas a little bit tonight. The reason I'm not going to stay on too much on Buffalo is because it's an ongoing event. We're right in the middle of it, and it's kind of more of a live situation. So just gradually starting to take steps away from that. But of course, we'll give you an update on that also tomorrow. Texas is a little bit of a tricky forecast. Not a tricky one, but maybe might surprise some people. Low pressure trying to get going up here enough and close enough to Texas to throw some moisture into Texas overnight. And some cold rain also, I might add, winter weather advisories in southwest Texas, but there's no winter weather advisories up here. But look, I mean, this is around, I would say, around midnight tonight. Some flurries, some snow showers break out maybe just west of Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now it's liking areas just to the west, but I really think there could certainly be some flurries and some snow flying around. Maybe if you're up really late tonight or have to get up really early, I think there'll be an area of some snow right here in North Texas, and then a little bit of freezing rain, freezing drizzle, maybe some sleet, and maybe some snow flurries in areas of southwest Texas. And we'll see what happens with that. And then there could be another area maybe sometime in the middle of the day tomorrow. A lot of cold air in place in Texas. Maybe some sleet in this area right here. We'll see how this happens right in the heart of Texas. Winter weather advisories, you don't have any over here, but you do have them in some counties in far southeast New Mexico and western and southwestern areas of Texas. So you got that. So let's talk about Thanksgiving a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the European. We're going to look at the GFS, talk about how much precipitation can fall, even take a look at some potential snowfall totals for this time frame. But notice, well, remember, we're just looking at model guidance. Don't take everything that you see as something that is absolutely going to happen, and a lot of people do that. It's like I posted a tweet earlier today, and talking about this potential storm, and I was just like, I said, there's a potential storm possibility coming up this coming next weekend. It could be this, it could be that, it could be this, or it could be nothing. And I laid out a couple scenarios, and then of course somebody comments, what about North Carolina? And that's all it said. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that those questions it doesn't annoy or irritate me at all, but it's wild how I guess just there's a misconception that I guess that people who do weather, even meteorologists, just can tell you exactly what it's going to do in a storm a week out. I mean, we struggle enough telling you 2 or 3 days out, right? So just remember that as we take a look at this. So the European, we're going to start this off around next Tuesday morning. Well, this coming Tuesday morning. And maybe a little bit of moisture. Maybe could drop some snow flurries in the mountains of Tennessee, North Carolina. We'll see Tuesday night. And then this moves out. And then we'll get into Thursday morning. Now, tricky situation. Thursday morning, it likes some moisture trying to blossom over Georgia, South Carolina, maybe even North Carolina. As a low pressure develops, this could bring a rainy Thanksgiving evening for the Carolinas, maybe Virginia. At the same time, you have a trough digging here. Now, this isn't a wholesale cold front, meaning cold from the Arctic origins or anything like that. This is more of like an upper level low, or cutoff low, which tend to bring their own cold air. And these little systems that bring their own cold air, they're really, most of the time, very fleeting air masses, meaning they move in and they move out. They don't stay in place for a while. Kind of like the air mass we have in place right now across the eastern U.S. It's been an air mass that's been locked in for several days, and it's gave us this really wintry week and will continue to give us a really wintry weekend. But what this happens here, from the Euro, low pressure develops here. Then you got some energy way over here. Cold air moves in, tries to link in with this moisture right here. There's enough just cold air locked into place up here in New York State. By the time we get into our Black Friday afternoon, next Friday, a week from today, some snow, more snow for these same areas that are getting hit by lake effect snow. And remember, don't take this as if it's going to happen. It's just one model run. Low pressure kind of cutting inland, bringing some snow for New York State. But look at this blue down here in the mountains of North Carolina and Virginia, Kentucky. This looks like almost like an upper level low feature where you got some backside moisture. And then this moves through. Low pressure cuts inland turns into a doozy of a winter storm for the same areas that are getting crushed right now. And then at the same time, you got a high-end northwest flow event kickstarting, bringing, and at the same time, you still got leftover energy from this. And you got a lot going on here in the southern Appalachian Mountains. And you got snow starting to break out at the beginning of next week and around this time next weekend. So I would argue, I would watch the forecast if you got a mountain trip planned for next weekend. And really anywhere up the Appalachian Mountains. It could be snowy if the Euro is correct. For example, I'll stop it right here. This is for next Saturday morning. A lot of snow flying around. Pennsylvania, the Appalachian Mountains, all the way down to almost North Georgia. This moves through. This is a big, messy, wintry, cold rain, probably wind-driven mess for the Northeast. This would make, if you're traveling home next Saturday or Sunday, this would make certainly for a messy ride home. And then the Northwest Flow event kicks up. Maybe the lake effect snow bands fire up again, and we could be going through this all over again, but certainly not to this severity that's ongoing right now. All right, so the GFS, what does the GFS show? So we'll start off, we're moving into Wednesday, we're moving into Thanksgiving. Already there's some differences. Now, not huge differences, but about what we would expect from two of the major models about 6 to 7 days out. One thing you'll notice is there's not really any moisture over the southeast or mid-Atlantic like the European shows for Thanksgiving afternoon. You got moisture over here with this upper level low flying through with snow flying around in areas of the Dakotas and Minnesota and Iowa. The GFS, you got to watch out for almost a severe weather event way down here. Now, if you actually look at the dew points down here, you see what we call a moving moist sector. I kind of made the moving part up. I don't know what we're doing here. Here we go. But Thanksgiving, if the GFS is correct, you have a low pressure riding much more north. Therefore, a more warm system altogether. And the GFS has some moist air down here. Dew point. This is dew points, not temperature. Dew points in the 60s. And you would have to watch for a sector of severe weather down here in the deep south. Thanksgiving into Friday morning, into the following Friday morning. It's just something to watch out for. We've flipped back to the precipitation map. We're in Black Friday at this point, next Friday. Oh, come on, mouse. Please stop being a turd. All right, here we go. I just ran out of real estate on my mouse pad. But the GFS brings just a messy rain. As opposed to if you look at the European for Friday afternoon, you got a major winter storm moving into New York State. The GFS, a warm rain with maybe some higher elevation snow. And then this moves on out. And then maybe a bit of some more lake effect snow kicking off for Saturday. Maybe some northwest flow. So there's definitely, basically in a nutshell, if you were to use one word to say what the difference is between the two models. The European is colder. The GFS is warmer. It's that simple. If you want it to be that simple. But the national blend of all models, as far as just precipitation in general, between now and I would say next Sunday morning, it doesn't show any type of flooding situation or anything like that, but certainly shows rain sometime starting midweek next week through your Thanksgiving and your Thanksgiving weekend. Moisture. Now, this might not be in the form of rain. It could be in the form of snow for certain areas. So certainly something to watch. Now, what's going into this, and I know this might blow some people's minds, but we'll talk about this a lot in the winter. We'll talk about pieces of energy. I'll use that a lot. Some people call it H5. Just think of this as pieces of energy. We'll look at these little small scale ticks when we're trying to really hone in and finalize a forecast for a winter storm or just any storm. So what happens here, we get into next Wednesday afternoon. We'll stop here. Piece of energy flying in from the northern stream up here. You got a piece of southern stream that's just kind of, it gets left behind here in Baja California. So the northern stream becomes the dominant energy here in this part. And there's almost two separate pieces of energy, one up here in the Great Lakes and one down here to the south. They kind of come down and create a pretty big storm, but it would be even bigger if you had this phasing with it. But this just kind of gets left behind, and it still ends up being a pretty big storm here, and then it becomes almost negative right here and becomes a significant storm over the northeast where it really begins to wrap up here. But that's the European. That's the most aggressive scenario. You look at the European as far as snowfall for the southern apps here, and check it out here. I mean, this is through next Sunday evening, so about almost 10 days out. Shows snow for the Smokies, the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina, the favored northwest flow events or locations. West Virginia shows a big snow event. Kentucky, even a few inches of snow for you guys. Plateau in Tennessee, a little bit of snow. And then you go a little bit up the road into the northeast. You go through the entire Thanksgiving weekend. And look at all, it shows a pretty significant winter storm. Now, this is counting some of that lake effect snow right here, but you notice, I mean, a lot of inland snow for the Northeast, but nothing for the big cities. So, really, one thing I want to tell you about the fleeting air mass thing. So, yes, you see the blue here right over the Southeast late next week, and you're thinking, oh, really cold air mass. It's not necessarily the case. Now, it's going to be probably a period of cooler than average temperatures, but it's a very fleeting air mass. There's no connections from the Arctic. There really isn't. This is just a cutoff low that kind of brings its own weather, literally. And they can bring severe weather. They can bring snow. They can bring grapple. They can bring rain. They can bring just anything. You see these features do some crazy things. Flooding. But you notice there's no real connection from the far northern areas. In fact, we look at a more broader scale right here of North America. Yes, you got troughing right here over the eastern U.S. with a favored look of some kind of storm right here, but there's no connection up here like there is right now with this air mass in place. So, as far as what that means as far as temperatures compared to average, remember the warmer colors you see on here are warmer than average temperatures. The cooler colors you see on here are colder than average temperatures. And really what happens with this, here it goes. This upper level low feature, cutoff low feature, moves over the southeast and brings a period of below average temperatures, especially for the southeast and eastern U.S., but then potentially warms up after that. So we'll see how cold it's going to get. We're going to get a lot more detailed on this by each passing day, and by the time we get into maybe early next week, we'll know exactly what's going to happen for the most part. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Sorry I'm so late. Fridays is always nice to me and my family go out and get some dinner, pizza, things like that. But you guys have a great and safe start to your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys in the morning. God bless.